Hi everyone, I am Asnera Erasid and today I'll be presenting to you my topic which is entitled Principles and Procedures for Adapting Materials. So why do we need to adapt materials? Despite the great effort that textbook writers make to meet the needs of the intended users, textbooks are subject to adaptation when they are actually used in the classroom. After all, most commercial textbooks are not written for any particular class. What makes the matter worse is that sometimes the teachers are compelled to use certain materials, that is, materials imposed by authorities. In most ELT cases, teachers have to adapt materials they are using if they want their teaching to be more effective and more interesting. So these are the principles by McGrath. Be perceived as relevant by learners, or what we call localizations. That what that is mean is that you cannot use materials from Japan here in the Philippines unless it is compatible to your learners. You should, because Japan and Philippines are very different, so you should use materials that is relevant to your learners. Second, be up to date or modernizations. You cannot use materials that is too old because your learners will find it difficult to understand or to adapt. Cater for the differences in learning styles, and that is what we call individualizations, because your learners have different kind of styles in learning. Encourage learners to speak or wrote about themselves and their own experiences, and that is what we call personalizations. In that way you can also learn how they want to be teach. Engage the whole person or humanizing. Second, be appropriate to the learner's level. Offer an appropriate level of challenge, like simplification, complexification, and differentiation, because your learners have different level of understanding. So you should be, or you should consider their level of understanding. And lastly, be varied, or what we call variety, because your learners are different. They have different kind of style in learning or understanding your lessons. They have different kinds of different level of understanding. So you should be varied or flexible. Now let's talk about don'ts in materials adaptations. Number one, teachers should not adapt materials too casually. Example given, based on his or her own preferences or taste. Remember, you are adapting materials for the cause of your learners. So consider your learners' preferences or tastes instead of yours. Number two, materials adaptation should not be done at the expense of completeness and overall framework of the materials, because it will take too much time. Three, materials deleted or added should not go beyond a reasonable proportion. Otherwise, consider alternative materials. If the materials is not available, then you should consider alternative materials so that you can deliver your lessons. Four, teachers should not adapt materials only to cater for the needs of exams or tests, because always remember, you are prioritizing your learners learning. A specific adaptation by Malley 1998 and Tomlinson 1998. He suggested the following options for materials adaptations. The first one, omission. The teacher leaves out things deemed inappropriate, offensive, unproductive, and etc. for the particular group. Addition. Where there seems to be inadequate coverage, teacher may decide to add the textbook either in the form of text or exercise materials. Reduction, where the teacher shortens an activity to give it less weight or emphasis. The next one, extension, where an activity is lengthened in order to give it an additional dimension. That is the opposite of reduction. For example, a vocabulary activity is extended to draw attention to some syntactic patterning. Next one, rewriting / modification. Teacher may occasionally decide to rewrite material, especially exercise material, to make it more appropriate, more communicative, more demanding, more accessible to their student. The next one, replacement. Text or exercise material which is considered inadequate for whatever reason may be replaced by more suitable material. This is often called from other resource materials. The next one, reordering. Teacher may decide that the order in which textbooks are presented is not suitable for their student. They can then decide to plot a different course through the textbook from the one the writer has laid down. And lastly, branching. Teachers may decide to add options to the existing activity or to suggest alternative pathways through the activities. For example, an experiential route or an analytical route. Thank you for listening. If you have any suggestion, clarifications, and questions, you are free to do so. Again, this is Asnara Erezid signing off.